Welcome back to Opa Podcast, episode 48. Today's just going to be me, everyone. This is Jay Snow, one of your hosts of Opa Podcast. We're recording today as of Friday before Labor Day weekend, as I fly out tomorrow, Saturday, for a trip to Florida. So with that in mind, I'm the only producer that can help produce this, and I will not be available to help produce at all. So we're going to record this now and mention any notes from the team. So today we'll be recapping the victory over New Mexico State, and then preview Game 2 against Western Illinois at Huntington Bank Stadium at home. So, to get started here, the Gophers defeated Jerry Kill's New Mexico State 38-0, scoring a touchdown in the first quarter, another touchdown, two touchdowns and a field goal in the second, two touchdowns in the third, and then 0 in the fourth quarter. In the end, 38-0. Tanner Morgan was 13-19 for 174 yards, 9.2 yards average. Cole Kramer got some in-game action too, was 3 for 3 for 14 yards. And Ethan Callan-McManus was 0-1. Then our opponents' quarterbacks, Gravin Frakes, came in after the second series, was 2 of 7 on passing, with 1 interception, and then Diego Pavia started the first 2 series, only was 2 for 5 with 10 yards. As for rushing, Mohamed Ibrahim led the way. Mo is back in true form, 21 carries, 132 yards, 6.3 yards average. Trey Potts was second best at 17 carries at 89 yards, and behind them is Bryce Williams, Tanner Morgan, along with Jordan Newbin, Max Grand, and Cole Kramer. So overall, in terms of both rushing and passing, 188 yards passing and 297 yards of rushing. So roughly about 400 and over 400, almost 500 yards of total offense that night. But I will note, we had 23 pass attempts versus 57 rush attempts. So a very high number leaning towards rushing all night. In terms of receiving, Mike Brown-Stevens, Chris Aubin-Bell, Brevin Spanford, Nick Calrup, Trey Potts, Gears, Williams, Mo, Dalen Wright, and Lamarcus Brockington all were part of the passing game, particularly Mike Brown-Stevens at 3 receptions for 52 yards, Crab at 3 receptions for 38 yards, and then Brevin next up at 2 receptions for 29 yards. No turnovers on the Gopher side, which is awesome. And then on the defense, a lot of guys got some in-game action. It was pretty awesome to see. Names that we're familiar with, like Mariano Sori-Marin, Braylon Oliver, Jordan Howden, Tyler Newbin, Ja Joyner making awesome plays. But then also Terrell Smith, T-Time, getting the interception in the fourth quarter. But also some new names we haven't seen at all as starters. Danny Strigo was pretty awesome that night. Jalen Logan Redding, Josh Oon did a great job as well. They had a very great night for the defense as well, suffocating New Mexico's offense to roughly about 91 yards of total offense. So great job on a Joe Rossi defense. As for kick returns, we only had 1 kick return back for 22 yards. The rest were touchbacks. Matthew Trickett was 1 for 1 in field goals, 5 for 5 on extra points. So perfect on that. So that's for Wyatt. And then we only had 1 punt from Mark Crawford. That was only a 31-yard punt, but landed inside the 10-yard line. So that's pretty awesome. Awesome night for the Gophers home opener. So I'm going to get into some of the notes from Wyatt and Griffin, who provided some notes post-game. So we'll start off with Wyatt. First piece from Wyatt: it is inspiring to see Mo run as fearlessly as he did last night. No greater relief than seeing him healthy and running through people again. 2, both the offensive line and the front 7 look extremely sharp, especially for a week 1 game. I normally expect us to see his plays painfully close, but this team looked dominant in the trenches last night. So hopefully we can build on that as we close in on Big Ten play. 3, I didn't know I know we didn't get to see much of Tanner, but I like what I saw in chances he had. His awareness seems heightened. He showed ability to extend plays with his legs that I hadn't anticipated seeing. Obviously, going to be cautious in my assessment, but I'm very optimistic. 4. The wide receivers, on the other hand, did not impress me. I expect better than dink and dunk passing to the running backs and tight ends, and I was disappointed. 5. I missed PJ's eyes. 6. With no line set on the Western Illinois game, I'm not exactly sure what direction to go with my prediction, but I think if we play at this same level, it is far from unreasonable that we could be something like 57 or 55 or 45 and 7 showing with a Gopher victory. So that's Wyatt's notes. Some pretty awesome stuff there. Then going on to Griffin. Griffin says, okay, sorry for the mess of words, but I'm going to throw some words down on the chat, whatever works in my mind. Kirk Shiraka is back, or Kirk is back. Love the first play is a 15-yard slant to Crab. Well, the feeling to have an offense again. Wyatt's assessment of the wide receivers and running backs is good too. Some catchable drops, so we expect some drills this week. Tanner looked more comfortable with pocket presence and awareness, less rushing when the pocket doesn't look perfect. He was also able to convert key plays with his legs. Would have liked to see him try and stretch the field more with some longer throws. Brevin, anyone catch his motion plays on the goal line? He taps Tanner's butt to make him aware that he's there, and off the snap, he's right back to push him into the end zone. Love this rope, but he can catch, as we saw, for some more games like that, and I will take. Offensive line, or O-line, looked better than I feel they played. With a couple of negative rushes, it seems they have having some gap issues off the snap. These men should be clobbering their D-line, and a couple times they weren't so overpowering. Nonetheless, they did look great for week 1, as Wyatt said. One of their biggest offensive threat from Western Illinois. I'll cover that in a bit here. But no, my bad. This was last piece from Griffin. This last game, one of their biggest offensive threat from New Mexico State is senior Nazium Brantley, at wide receiver. Can put up some good numbers against that defense, and obviously with the talent of these wide receivers, the Joe Rossi defense just feasted. But yeah, that's pretty much it from Wyatt and Griffin, and I am going to add some of my notes. I thought the Gophers played great. We dominated from start to finish, but on both offense, defense, and special teams. I was surprised for an opening game to be executing at a very high level, as Wyatt said. I do agree that I thought I was going to see some, like, maybe, obviously for sure, there was a lot of drop passes, very catchable passes. For example, looking at the stat sheet, I feel like Tanner could have gone 16 to 17. Or 17 to 17 on passing. He could have been perfect and add over 200 yards. I think it was Crab, Dalen, and all the other receivers, and Mike Brown-Stevens had some very catchable passes that they just dropped right there, which is very disappointing. Obviously, I think the touchdown that we had to score the field goal on instead, and all many of our eyes, his toe was in. But apparently with the rule that if he's toe tapping and his heel's going out of bounds, it's technically incomplete, whatever the hell that means. But there was a lot of catchable passes made that day, not just from Tanner, but from Cole Kramer and Ethan, that like our receivers was dropping when they shouldn't be. And we all know PJ loves his receivers. O-line and the defense front 7 linebackers and D-line looked amazing. I was, again, very surprised. Like, it looks like the O-line didn't really take a step back, if that makes sense. Like, the way how I saw it, they were just mauling New Mexico State. We did have a period of time in the game where it looks like they're just getting tired. They're not committing to their assignments, getting some offensive holdings as well. But great start to a new look offensive line with only one returning starter. So I'm excited what the O-line is looking. And on the defensive side, Mariano doing Mariano things, being the leader of that defense, getting the communications out to the team. And the D-line just feasting. I think they will have to get better, though. Especially we didn't get many sacks in there, obviously. And I say defense did great overall. I just did not like the some of the penalties that was committed in the second half. But the first team looked great, and also want to mention the second team looked great as well. Again against New Mexico State, and there's still first team offense and defense out on the field. Second team Gophers looked great as well. So I think that's pretty much it. The game was amazing, great opener, great victory. Game 1 in the books. We're 1-0 in the season so far. And I do want to preface Wyatt on I miss PJ's eyes. If you're a fan and you're not aware and you're watching the game, PJ this past year did get eye or facial reconstruction surgery. He suffered an injury back in 2019 with a bungee cord at his lake house, which hit his face. So he got it repaired, and if you see his eyes look weird, it's because of that. You can check out the Star Tribune article that I think Chip Scoggins wrote. So please check that out and take a quick read. It's very actually insightful. But I'm glad PJ is doing great. But yeah, according to why his eyes look weird. And also PJ Fleck as well. At the end of the game, pre-game and post-game, looks like everything took the high road, and PJ did end up shaking hands with Jerry Kill. And if you look at his press conference, with at least from PJ's perspective, PJ still has the utmost respect for him and taking the high road in the end. I still have not had the chance to watch Jerry Kill's post-game press conference, so we'll take a quick look. But I thought in the end, at least on the side of Minnesota and for PJ, taking the high road. And for some reason, I thought I was expecting. I know Score North thought like Jerry would have committed through it and just blow off PJ pre-game and post-game, but it looks like it still happened, and I'm very happy that at least in the end we took the high road. Really no place for this kind of beef. But that's pretty much it. Overall, great game. Both team, all three phases for the Gophers went very, very well. So moving on to Game 2 for the 2022 Gopher football season. So the Gophers will be facing the Western Illinois Leathernecks. They use a bulldog mascot logo. They lost their opener yesterday. Lost 25-42 against UTM. I believe the University of Tennessee Martin, I think. I don't know. The Skyhawks. Small team that I never heard of. The game is going to be on Big Ten Network on Saturday the 10th for 11 a.m. Central kickoff at Huntington Bank Stadium. There actually is this promotion right now that was shared on Twitter and Facebook, right? The Gopher sports team, that they are selling tickets around $10 to $15. So if you want to go to the game, go check it out and buy those cheap tickets. It's pretty awesome. But looking ahead, Griffin's notes on our opponent as we took a pause on that. He doesn't know much about their QBs, but they have more rushing yards than their running backs. So he's thinking that with the way how our defense is operating, they'll be leading more on the pass game, and we will cover it easy. So Griffin's going to give a victory of 37-3, and Wyatt says 45-7 for their predictions to win against Western Illinois. As for just looking ahead here, at least from what I'm seeing and reviewing, the FPI for ESPN is giving the Gophers a 99.1% victory odds against Western Illinois' 0.9%. Their quarterback in terms of passing was 9 of 19 for 180 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Their quarterback was also the same in rushing, 8 carries for 62 yards. And then their lead receiver was 6 receptions for 171 yards and 3 touchdowns as well. But other than that, there's so far no odds yet for the season, obviously. But overall, things are shaping out for a Golden Gopher victory over Western Illinois. Looking at it, a weak FCS opponent, which I think the Gophers should still run over. I think I'm going to expect the same thing this game that we did last game. I just want to see the offense and defense line win the trenches. We run the ball like hell because we want to eat the clock, go home earlier. But also, I do want to see Tanner and then also our second and third team quarterbacks get the chance to throw it more. I feel like we could have longer throwing plays. I've noticed there's a lot. I think the longest we've had was 16, 15 yards. And if you were watching the Big Ten Network broadcast, Jerry DiNardo pretty much bitched about it for about 3 to 4 minutes on the halftime report. And I kind of sort of agree with him. Like, I wish I saw there was more on passing. Like, I get it. We want to rush and dominate. But it would be great to see some passing. I know PJ loves to keep things vanilla, but I think we can do more just so we can get things more comfortable and like try things that work or don't work and get it out of the way now. But I'm excited, looking forward to the game. I'm going to predict a 35-0 victory. I think we're going to keep the game scoreless, goose egg at the end of that score for the other team. So I'd say the Gophers win 35-0. And then obviously Laurent said preseason that this is going to be a victory, but he didn't get me his predictions in time. But other than that, this is going to be it for the preview for Game 2 against the Western Illinois Leathernecks. The entire team expecting a victory out of this, and then we'll see you guys next time on our return to recap Game 2 and preview Game 3. But other than that, see you guys next time, and have a great Labor Day weekend.